actually, let's begin with code on screen, but I will also this is not, the code is not actually formatted for structured right, but yeah, so 3 things to note. First off, pause if you want to look at the code on screen. But first off, my PERM version was actually not updated. I showed it and I must not have realized we were not on 1.44, which is now required because of certain changes I had to make. So thanks to all the bug reports and point outs, basically, of things for NOSHACL and NIGHTLY AURA specifically. So let me say that again. This is the important part. NIGHTLY AURA and NOSHACL do need some tweaks. Are they going to crash the game? No, but they're probably needed because there are, I think, 2 primary problems that do have a substantial effect on gameplay. So, first and foremost, that's second off, because I just updated my PERM version. I'll show you later. Actually, I should show you now, so we'll take this code off screen for a second just to show you. But I don't know why. I swear I did get 1.44. I must not have installed it for whatever reason. But yeah, to go throw that code back on screen. So the most important part is that we added this to the Anytown Action Use prizes. So basically, we want to make the school nurse work. The basic simple version is the school nurse now works with technical difficulties. It did not before for whatever reason. And I think I mentioned having problems with it, but it was apparently, yeah, not working as intended. So now it does work as intended, and thanks to those who pointed it out. But not really much to go over. Basically, it's a check to see, you know, if you have effects of status, technical difficulties. Yes, it says self-spell name, just trust it works because I tested it out. And then the later part is actually removing them and then adding the adding the penalty, because the extra penalty for getting rid of each stack of technical difficulties is an extra 1% doom, which is why I added this statement just to show. This is not going to be like a secret statement. I'm just going to say it out to the player, because otherwise it can be odd to just jarringly find out where doom is coming from, even though you're like, oh, I thought the nurse was only 3 or something, and then it just removes like 5 or 6. So next thing to show is that this is less a gameplay thing, but it is something that is a pet peeve of mine that someone pointed out. Basically, if you note right here, these are some pixels that are not actually colored white, and so the change I made is essentially just recolor the whole event. So yeah, now the event looks like this, and it should be already working as intended. Now, is it going to be jarring to the eyes on some palettes? Because I normally do forget that certain palettes or you can change the palette for World of Horror. Is it going to be painful? Maybe, but that's why we're here to check it out. And if I'd never run into this event, because I just introduced all of the custom content that I normally have, so we're no longer working with an isolated, you know, custom mystery, custom old god here. And in fact, we're going to be playing with Nurse Miku. She does not have stacks of technical difficulties to start. However, something that I also did, I guess I should show it now, we're at the very beginning, is that I added, not there, I am going absolutely crazy. No, we don't need to cut though. But yeah, so I added the code to the, instead, I was advised to put it in the old god. I decided to leave it with technical difficulties. The reason why is because if for whatever reason, and this is like a me being paranoid thing, but if for whatever reason we want to start with technical difficulties, you can get rid of it without being on NOSHACL. And if that is the case, that you need to be on NOSHACL, because I didn't read the code close enough, then also, yeah, I think I made some changes to the code that I was advised to use, so that's why we're here, and I will test out anything that doesn't work later on and make changes. So the other main change I was going to make was NOSHACL is going to be a limiter, but the reason why I'm not doing it for this video is because I want to show you basically that there will be essentially 2 types of NOSHACLs that I will give you, but at base you will be the one that you will be using. If you download NOSHACL from Nexus Mods, you will get the easier version, and it is the easier version because there is a chance that you just RNG out. The only change I'll make to the limit is adding the limit. So I'll explain later on as I get into NOSHACL, NIGHTLY AURA, Nurse Miku here. Nurse Miku is still not released because I need to still release the character I wanted to release, but I think hotfixing NOSHACL and NIGHTLY AURA is more important first, and then I'll get to the character. So that should happen within 24 hours, probably 48 hours if things go really badly for me in real life, but otherwise, as we get knowledge, charisma, second mystery, second encounter, strength, and maybe a dexterity check, every single stat check, yeah, we'll move on here. So, again, the primary focus of this video is to note any changes that happen, and I might skip some, so that's why I'm saying that really specifically, but is also, I didn't use the library notes, is to also show basically the OG version of NOSHACL, which is basically what you'll get right now if you download it from Nexus Mods, but as we get Ward, now all my mysteries are gone, whoops, we'll just play with base mysteries, that's fine. Ward, Recluse, Mermaids, Kana, Household Hell, oh my goodness, coughing. This is the harder version of NOSHACL, and the reason why is because there's no limit to technical difficulties at the moment, so I will be adding a limit, but you can always switch it back. I think I'll use 2 separate ITO files, so if you want to go the distance and change that ITO file, then you should, if you're prepared to make it harder, then you should already know. It's kind of a, if you already are prepared to work with harder custom content gameplay wise with World of War, then you should be able to do a quick basically ITO file swap. And if you're not, then you won't be affected and you'll be playing on basic. Yeah, it is going to be, I say basically, it is going to be an easier NOSHACL. And as you can note here, I already have 2 stacks of technical difficulties, so I'm just going to pop one and live with the other. But the primary change is going to, and so the change I do need to make immediately is that the school nurse gets rid of all technical difficulties. I'll show that if I get like 4 or 4+ more stacks. But the main change I'm going to make is that per mystery, you can only get up to 3 stacks of technical difficulties, which is basically just going to be an iterating variable that refreshes every time a mystery ends. But I'm also probably going to limit the max technical difficulties you can get at a time to 5. Because that essentially means that's not just a 50% chance-ish to get -1 reason, that there is a chance that you just get popped with 5 reason, and that can feel bad. So as someone who always talks about, hey, what happens when you have bad RNG, this, and this can happen, I also realize that as someone did run into this problem, which is why it was a report to me, that, yeah, they ran into, and they just exploded with reason, so, yeah, but yeah, that doesn't feel good when it's completely out of your control. I did still try to give a lot of agency to the player by way of, you know, allowing you to get rid of technical difficulties through the school nurse, through popping, through the hospital with 2 or 1 fun. But there's only so many funds you can get. It's not like you're getting funds left, right, and center unless I add an event. But if I add an event, also I didn't get the thingamajiggy. I feel really bad. I would think we're just going to run. So, we have 2 knowledge. I actually have to take Ward next. But what was I saying? Gosh, me, why? Yeah, basically I didn't want to just slap you with like 6 to 7 stacks. 5 might seem a little small. Maybe I'll leave the max as 6, but that's still a lot to get rid of. And through the course of a run, even if you proc 3 technical difficulties per 5 mysteries, that is a lot. That's like, yeah, 15 funds or a school nurse visit. But the school nurse, if it's working as intended, then it's not so bad. So that's, again, that's not so bad because the school nurse will cleanse it all. Now that does mean you need to have the school nurse, but if you're that unlucky, you can at least still enable school nurse if you haven't unlocked, because unlocking the school nurse is something the player can do themselves. And in fact, NOSHACL is an old god that I would recommend you play. You don't have to 100% the game, but at bare minimum, unlock the school nurse. I think the school nurse does need to be unlocked. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But otherwise, yeah, so that's in complete control of the player. So even if you get like 6 stacks, over the course of the whole run, as long as you can visit the school nurse, like if you're stuck in Vigil and you get 6 stacks, if you get out of Vigil, you visit the school nurse, you cleanse it all for the Doom required. So optionally, I was thinking about whether or not I should allow you to get rid of it in another way with like 10 to 15 experience, but I think that's too much of a little check here. So something to note really quickly is, as we run to computer advancements, on a black, white, or the default palette, you're not going to see much of a change, but I can imagine that with certain palette certain palette choices, actually we can check it here, can't we? Can we check it here? Yeah, next palette. So if we just flash through here, my eyes are already kind of hurting, but as long as we, usually most palettes are, you know, coded to a certain warmth of color. There's not a lot of colors that are, you know, like as purple to blue, but at the same time, I mean, they fit the same spectrum, but you get the point. They're not near the same color. If they are different colors like this, they flow together well. Like, I personally do like the Jaguar palette. A lot of these other, even Hills, even though it's mostly gray, it kind of grates on my eyes, so I would never play on it. Now, I can live with it for like a minute or two, but after a while, I don't feel good, so... But I do forget to consider palette changes that people might use. Again, Shiba here is also a palette that's relatively nice to my eyes. However, I do note that the whites are not actually white, so that kind of that's kind of confusing to my eyes. But if it's confusing to your eyes, please let me know, and I will no longer do this because there's no way for me to know as I'm recording here. But ZR, it's kind of nice, but I think the blue is too dark, which is why it's a little oof to me. Again, these are all mostly for fun. You don't need to be playing on these palettes, but it's something to think about when you are making custom content, basically. So, without further ado, there are a lot of palettes, by the way, but I personally don't like to change it again one more time because my eyes can't handle it. Technically, I can call this a epilepsy warning ? But this isn't so bad either. But again, because the whites are not exactly white, and yeah, I suppose part of it might be try to confirm this with me if you know anything about it. But part of it is that I'm already used to the default palette so much, so that's probably a larger contributing reason as to why my eyes hurt. Basically, I mean that's not the best way to put it, but hey. Also, we have a full ward here because I just realized I did not bring the thingamajiggy with me, the hospital pass, but we'll deal. So as we get slapped by technical difficulties because we have 3 stacks, we could visit the doctor's office. We probably should because we are slowly dying here. But as I take this, and I will probably risk the out of funds for this, I'm actually going to pop all these technical difficulties. And as you can see there, if you're unlucky with 3 stacks, it can already be pretty bad. So that's why I am considering adding a limit. However, again, one more time, I will make it so that you can switch back to this version of NOSHACL, where there are no limits. But if you want to work with the next version, again, only one of them can be canon, so I guess I'll call it the one that I changed. NOSHACL I changed to be canon. But I need to run here. But you can switch it back to the OG version. I'm usually of the mind to allow players to customize their experience if it's within my control, because sometimes maybe I just don't have the time and I have to choose between one or the other to do. But I mean, as a game developer myself or someone who works on content, there's not really any reason not to allow a player if I have the time. So if I don't have the time, though, that's a different story. Again, there's always some nuance to situations when you are making DLC content mods, a game, so on and so forth. We have to run here, by the way. So as we head off to our next mystery here, we are in a lot of pain. Taking that full ward in the face was not the greatest, but we'll have to deal because, yeah, I have not made the changes yet. And again, even with the changes that I went through, and this is going to be very painful, we have a weird substance. It's the one that heals, though. I needed the Eldritch liquid, the Eldritch juice. I don't know what I remember. I don't even remember what I called it. It's been a while since I played Nurse Miku, but, can we live like this? We have everything for stamina, but we don't have anything. The problem is the syringe doesn't do a lot of sever damage, so I guess I do have to take another mystery first. This is going to be a very painful recluse, basically. I actually should consider changing my weapon, but so off we go. But anywho, something to note here as we go. Yeah, we might as well keep going through NOSHACL stuff. So NOSHACL specifically, even if I limit NOSHACL's technical difficulty max stacks per mystery to even 2, the difference between 2 and 3 can be a lot, because after 3 mysteries you can have 6 stacks, which I would set as the total max, or you might have to get rid of 12 total, or 12 total? Am I going crazy? No, 9 total among after 3 mysteries if you are unlucky, because you get rid of 1 or 2. You can usually get rid of like 2 or 3 comfortably, and now with the school nurse you can definitely get rid of a bunch. But the problem is that you get rid of 2 and then you get 2 back in the next like 3 investigations. So it's just like you shrug your shoulders and just be like, I'm in pain. So yeah, it's not the greatest experience. Also, are we not gonna get anything? We probably have less reason now than we did before. I guess we take Recluse last. By the way, this is not a NOSHACL loss. NOSHACL did contribute to the damage here, but this is mostly a Recluse run. The Recluse is doing the most damage to me right now. Because I'm purposely changing my strategy to make way for Recluse. Now, keep in mind, we have Kana with this as well. So, yes, we would have been taking less damage if we took Recluse earlier, but the problem was that with the syringe and our knowledge not being at 8, which is kind of a high ask for Miku at times, it's not great. That's all I have to say. It's not great. So we're gonna gamble on 15% to die. We can get rid of flesh regrowth if need be, but as we fight the Forgotten Specimen here, who does, funny enough, gives you a stamina recovery item and not a reason recovery item, we have to drink this weird substance. So, yeah, I want the Eldritch. I guess another Eldritch substance wouldn't be bad, but we need more than that. So 3 out of 4 here, about 75%. I really mindballed that. We get another weird substance, but because it's lowering max stamina instead, I don't really mind. In fact, this is a separate form of flesh regrowth, so just really quick tangent for 20 seconds. I did balance weird substance off, funny enough, flesh regrowth and the lump of flesh. But those are 2 items to keep in mind when you are making a recovery item. These are the better ones, by the way, because max stamina, max reason isn't something that you really need to worry about most of the time. And the lump of flesh gives you a status effect, which is normally going to be negative, but you get a burst healing. So there's the burst healing, and then there's the overall cost. Usually I look at overall cost. So, and in this case, what each of these means. So -1 max stamina, again, you don't really care about max stamina drops, which is why I'm going to drink that immediately. But each 2 points of stamina or 2 reason can be basically another turn of combat that you buy for yourself. Shrug. Also, something to note here is that, I should have actually talked about Aura of the Night. You can see your current max stamina, max reason now. I was thinking of just putting it in Inspect initially before I even released everything. I think I talked about that as well. But I think just putting it here is nicer because it's more quality of life. That way the player doesn't have to spend another half second and clicking on Inspect. So a half second to move your mouse and then another click action to click and see. So, shrug. Especially if I wasn't using that area anyway, so... again, that was given to me as a piece of advice, so I appreciate it. But otherwise, we trade stamina for reason, and we need as much Doom as possible. And actually, I'm gonna hope the monument asks for stamina. It asks for funds, well enough, but I really wanted to ask for stamina. If it asks for reason, we can't do that. So off we go. Keeping in mind that Recluse is a relatively low cost, Doom cost mystery, so as I fail my charisma check because stats don't matter, I actually want to try and get this axe. Are we going to be able to? We're just find out. Because we're taking stamina damage here. So we're just going to bet the farm here and hope we hit at least 4 of these attacks. Because after that, I can go for a handcuff play. And if we miss a bunch of these, well, would be well-deserved, I suppose. Okay. And so this fire axe is going to be thrown at the ghost because you can still throw weapons or any throwable item at ghosts to deal damage. Trust me, bro, it makes sense. But... we're also just going to immediately level up and take first aid. We're actually going to overheal on reason. Even if our max reason was 9, it's worth it. So I did previously justify Nightly Aura not telling you max stamina, max reason. I think something along the lines of, I let it be a knowledge check. But again, it's like 2 opposing forces. There's that knowledge check, but there's also, no reason to hide it from the player. Because then they would just be doing some weird things like either mental math, or they are writing down notes in real life, or typing down notes in a text file, so on and so forth, basically. So, I decided, if someone was complaining about it for good reason, then no reason not to leave it as is. Now, that being said, there is some nuance to that. If someone is complaining, but they don't really have any passion towards what you're making, or they're doing it in bad faith, that's one thing. But in this case, I trust the sources in which were telling me that, hey, this probably should be changed for this, if it wasn't an outright change like the event being pixelized a very certain way. By the way, we're doing a lot better in this run than I thought we were going to do. So, by the way, we have Branded, and I should have got rid of Branded with the stuffed toy. I am going absolutely crazy. I think I actually lose because of that, but let's find out. So, also something else to note is that you can get stacks of technical difficulties. I think I mentioned that before, and I've shown you that before just through gameplay. And so there is a way, there is a reason to kind of still limit technical difficulties. So, shrug, right? But I mean, if we're using a quote from the developer as kind of a justification, because there was, it's not, and this is not the developer's standpoint, but it is conceptually something to think about. Is that, am I gonna survive here? By the way, hold on. We're just gonna do our best. So there was something that the developer said that can be basically, we'll treat it as a general thought experiment here is that you should plan for the things that you see or know are going to happen during the run. That was essentially a paraphrase of what the developer said, of what Panstaz said. But I do think that that has weight. At the same time, on the opposite end of that spectrum, there's no reason to slap the player with no quality of life where it doesn't need to be. An example is showing max stamina, max reason, but the arguments exist. However, in my case, you already know usually what I think about. I don't like to usually obscure data from the player, or I usually like to make it easier for the player to know something that they would normally be able to do themselves anyway. So unless it's something like handcuff tech, I normally like to just give the player something. That being said, I just realized we don't have enough reason for this, so we're gonna go for a dodge, and we hope we dodge. I think, right? I wish dodge is so garbage, by the way. That's not like subjective or objective, as odd as that may sound to say, but what I was trying to do here is dodge the sever and then trade 2 stamina for 1 reason with the power of the sewing kit and or flesh regrowth. Unfortunately, we don't even have 20 time units to do that, so shrug, right? But do I have any other recourse? I can brace, right? Brace is so much better. It doesn't get me out, but boy oh boy. And with that, I can even... Because dodge, I'm not guaranteed to dodge an attack. Also, we have a broken jaw. Never mind. I lied to myself. But we still have a sewing kit. So we can brace and trade 2 stamina here and do some magic. So we're going to brace sever. Yes, at this point, if I knew the gross ritual, that would have been better from turn 1. But you get the point. Also, I did not trade 2 stamina for 1 reason. That was not good, but that was a big misplay. But without further ado, the next episode is probably either going to be something else, or basically completing the changes that I'm making to NOSHACL and showing you basically the new NOSHACL that I'll be updating on Nexus Mods. But yeah, without further ado, I won't end this on a screen because this is more in OVA, and I think Future Jordan will call it like OVA 1. But otherwise, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know what to do. Reach out to me any way you can. I don't guarantee I'll be able to respond, but usually I try to. So yeah, without further ado, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye! Oh, look at those changes!